more resources, visit rym.org.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
All right, everybody, welcome back to our Friday show. If you've been tuning in, you know that we've been talking to Augusta Fair all this week, and we've covered a lot of ground on a lot of different topics. And so Augusta, setting up another scenario for you for this last question. It's this scenario. A student comes to you, they say, hey, I caught one of my friends, drinking or doing drugs. And as I caught them, they said they would stop, but it's been a few weeks or it's been a month, and I know they're continuing to indulge in this lifestyle. What should I do? So a student comes with you with that scenario. How do you begin?
Well, I think it's easy. It's easy to be for a person where you say, I'm not going to push back on anything in your life because I need your approval and I don't want you to not like me and I don't want this to be awkward and I'm kind of afraid. And I think it's also easy to be against a person. So instead of attacking a problem, you're attacking the person, or even distancing yourself from them, maybe even, going to everyone else about the issue, instead of them. But I think what that person might need is for someone to be with them. And what I mean by that is just because they're drinking, doing drugs, whatever it is, that doesn't mean that you can't be their friend anymore. It also doesn't mean that you condone them and let them influence your behavior. But I think that we need faithful Christians, faithful students to be there with people who are walking through the valley of the shadow of death with someone else. And I think that sometimes that means that students need to be able to look at a friend and say, this sin is sucking the life out of you. And I know this is not who you want to be. And also, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here with you. And maybe that means that you have to walk with them and pick up the pieces of consequences and not leave them. I think an example of that might be, you say you have a girl who made a fool of herself at a party, and everyone's talking about it at school. And I think it's so easy, especially people pleasers, whatever it is, or all the good girls to just, we're going to distance ourselves from her. She's the bad girl. And maybe even talk about her behind her back, but kind of masked with, well, I'm so worried about her, but I'm talking to, 5 other people and not to her. And I think, that she needs people to enter in and love her in the midst of that setting and not be for her and not be against her, but be with her. And I think that sometimes that means carrying and supporting her and walking with her and being there for her. And I think sometimes that means pushing back against the sin that could be really hurting her.
Yeah, and I think, that important, like you said, to be with him or her, in the midst of this sin. And you said that, no matter the consequences, because I think, with a scenario like this where a student is, drinking or abusing drugs and they're continuing in it. I mean, they're coming to you as a youth worker because they're fearful of what this person, is doing to themselves, but then also they could harm others. And so, obviously with something like this, we've got to, get the parents involved in this. And so there's got to be a confrontation that takes place. And, if a youth worker receives this kind of information, the parents have to know immediately because, somebody could get hurt. And so as you're saying, for the friend to be with them, to be with them when they know, okay, look, you're about to get, grounded, you're going to get in some serious trouble. Your parents are going to come down hard on you. Hopefully, if they're good parents, they're going to, come down hard on them. Yeah. And so, continue to be that friend of, look, what you've done. I mean, you've made some bad decisions and you're, in this lifestyle, but I'm with you. I'm for you. I love you. I'm going to help you through this. But our sin does have consequences, and sometimes that's punishment.
And I heard myself saying this, and I want to clarify, like, especially with people who are self-destructive or these like really dangerous situations, obviously use common sense in being with that person. Like, don't get in the car with them, when they're under the influence, or, I think there are states where if you have some illegal substance in your car, like, it's yours. So I think there's obviously common sense that comes in with walking with someone, and there's boundaries there, and safety measures you have to take. Obviously, I just wanted to add that in.
No, I think that's an important clarifier, because I mean, you implied it, and but it's good to know that some people could misinterpret that, or take that to the extreme. So while you're encouraging them to be with them, to also use good judgment and to be cautious of putting yourself in harm's way. But this is, I mean, this is a scenario I've dealt with firsthand with students, and there's definitely a right approach. I mean, we know that, as I said, I mean, the parents have to get involved immediately, but that doesn't mean that it's going to go smoothly. And typically with something like this, I mean, there's going to be a mess. There's going to be students that are angry at you. There's going to be some fallout from this. It's going to impact multiple people, but also just thinking too of the student who does come to you. Say, okay, again, this scenario, and a student comes to you with this information. What do you do with that student who came to you, who initiated this? How do you treat them? How do you encourage them? What are your thoughts there?
I think you've got to encourage them, and encourage them that they've done the right thing, even though it's really the hard thing to do, and risking that person being upset or being in the middle of it. It's a hard thing to do. Yeah,
because it is. I mean, most likely, I mean, especially, I mean, these are weighty issues we're talking about. I mean, drinking and doing drugs, and that's weighty for us as adults. But to think about, teenagers dealing with this, and just how they're processing it. And so, if a student has come to you at this point, I mean, they've hopefully wrestled with this a little bit, and they've been struggling with it. And so, I think to definitely encourage the student, because they're most likely going to doubt this decision. Did I do the right thing? I wasn't loyal to my friend. I kind of threw them under the bus or whatever. And so some of that, it's just some kind of worldly mantra that can, defend your friends at all costs. Well, sometimes defending and loving your friends is actually doing what's best for them, and sometimes that's telling the truth, and knowing that you're going to be the one that's getting them in trouble, so to speak, or exposing them, but that's because you ultimately love them. And so I think, affirming that to students, telling them, look, you are loving this friend, because when they start to doubt that from all the fallout, they need to hear that from their youth worker. I think that's important to think of how to treat this student who has come to you. So,
right, absolutely.
Any other thoughts on this before we close out?
It's great.
All right. Well, I guess I know you've got other things you can be doing, and ministry. You're in full-time ministry, so that's always a full plate. But it means a lot that you take the time out to come on the show and have this conversation with me. So thanks a lot, Augusta.
Thanks for the opportunity, John.